Welcome to part one of labor configurations for WinBidPro version 16 by GDS Estimating. In this video I want to talk about kind of the basics of where the labor configuration windows are and what type of information is in them. So first thing we'll do is look at the settings menu and then labor configurations. So this is kind of your master default labor settings window, and what it shows is some pre-configured items, I guess, or names for labor, and we can click on one, and these just happen to be named by framing system type. You can actually name these whatever you want, so you could even name them after a job if you want a totally custom labor configuration for a particular job. You can do that, but the labor configuration itself is made up of line items here, and the second video is going to cover this, but you can name the line item, but then there's categories that you pick from, and then there's how that labor is applied, and then also the time for that particular item of labor. So you can always create new configurations. You can copy a configuration, which we recommend because then it's easier to copy it and just change a few things than it is to start from scratch. So that's how you can kind of add to your list, and that's how you can kind of fine-tune your labor. So the other tabs up here, these are worth noting. There's a job kind of centric labor settings tab that has the glazing labor defaults, which are now based on weight. So it's not based on a rack schedule anymore. It's based on the weight of the glass, which we can actually find and calculate by the glass record for the glass type. So I'll show that in the second video too. But yeah, the glass table is going to have the type of glass and the thickness, the overall thickness of the glass, and that way we can calculate the actual weight of the glass based on the size of the light. So we're doing that now. We can actually tell it what weight do we need equipment used and how many people to run that. Our hourly rates are here, and then we can actually have a default labor configuration to apply to each elevation just by default, and then you can change it when the time comes. So the other thing worth noting is there's the same information here, but for the current job being edited. So this is one of the only times we'll combine like a job level setting window with a master default window. It was just the most logical place to put it because everything else is elevation based. So these settings here are more job based. So you can also get to this window by going over to the jobs menu and then down to labor settings. So it brings us to the same thing, only it brings you right to this tab. So that's kind of a rundown of where the labor configurations are and how you can go about adding new ones and editing existing ones, things like that. So down here in the elevation window, though, there's a labor tab now. So the labor tab is actually all these different line items once labor's been applied. So I can remove it, labor configuration, and then I can click in here to apply new labor. And this is why I mentioned that list could get pretty long if you're doing labor configurations for different jobs, but you can scroll down it and pick one that you want. So, but yeah, you can just pick any pre-configured labor configuration and then apply it, and it basically pulls in all those different line items for this elevation. So it's figuring all these calculations based on all these different how it's applied settings and the time required, and giving you that. And then you'll notice here on the left, there's actually a total time for labor for this elevation. So if I change something here, we've got what, 16 hours, 53 minutes. If I change this to 20 minutes per joint for installation time, and then tab out of that, this number's been updated. So I can kind of real time see what my labor calculation is for this particular elevation that's on the screen. So you can do that for each elevation. Obviously your default is what's been applied to begin with, but then you can change and add. I can even click here to add a new line item for a particular elevation. So That's in a nutshell how the labor is used and where things are in version 16. So watch the next video, part 2, to see how to manipulate the individual line items. Thanks.